Namaskaram to the millions of devotees of Lord Ayyappa worldwide. We have some good news from the world of neuroscience, and this I present humbly to all of you in this topic of Shabarimala and Lord Ayyappa's association with neurological centers in the brain. I am Dr. Vikramadityan, and I am going to present to you certain recent discoveries in the field of neuroscience and quantum physics that will help us tide over any issue concerning the lack of respect to traditions. One of the most advanced researchers in the field of neuroscience and ancient Vedic science is going to be revealed to you here, and this has been done by a great neuroscientist, Dr. Tony Nader. The human physiology has been discovered to be an expression of Veda and the Vedic literature. What the great scientists have discovered is modern science and the ancient Vedic science are nothing but they have both found the same thing, that the fabrics of immortality is actually present in the human physiology itself. How does this knowledge help us face the current issue of Shabarimala? The great discovery amidst all the various revelations, like how each and every aspect of Vedas, there are 40 aspects of Vedas, how they are related to particular parts of our human physiology has been discovered. And in this, the most essential one concerning the present issue is that of deities or devatas. It's amazing to see that most of the deities or devatas have been mapped in the human brain. You can see here, for instance, in the frontal lobe, Lord Ram, and then towards the posterior side, Lord Brahma, and in the center along the canal we have Lord Vishnu and Krishna. Like that, most of the deities have been mapped structurally and functionally in the human brain. This is an amazing discovery, and this happened in 1996. This is self-explanatory. Many of us would have seen it before as a passing message, but there is deep science in this. Now we are going to see the Vedic devatas in human physiology. In this slide, you will be seeing how Ganapati is correlated with the base of the brain, particularly medulla oblongata, pons, and other structures. Now, an important point is that these picture correlations are not superficial, they are very deep and absolutely scientific. Anatomically and physiologically they have been correlated, and all of you, I request, should go through the textbook written by Professor Dr. Tony Nader, and this will reveal the depth of the knowledge that our tradition has held. This is a more detailed picture where you can see that the brainstem, cerebellum, medulla all together give a similar looking Ganapati, but it's not confined to the looks, it's quite deep functionally also, and the mythological reality of Lord Ganapati is absolutely physiological truth that happens every second in our life. So these are eternal, eternal happenings that have been coded in highly what you can say, sort of mythological stories that actually transpires to be the truth, and physiology is the evidence for that. Also we see that the natural law is that the influence of the cosmos is always present on the earth and on the human brain too. We will see this a bit in detail. The 9 planets, the Navagrahas, as we know from the Jyotish, is correlated with the 9 structures in the basal ganglia. And again, it's absolutely very specific. The correlations are very specific, which you can compare with what we know through the knowledge of Jyotish and through the knowledge of neuroscience. One example we can take is that of thalamus. Thalamus has been correlated with Surya or the sun, and we know that the sun is a central structure or the body, heavenly body, and here the thalamus is also a central structure in the brain, and that which controls the most of the physiological functions, balances, all these things are done by the thalamus, similar to the functioning of Surya. And also about the hypothalamus, which we know medically that it influences all the cycles, the circadian rhythms. So similarly, that is correlated with Chandra or the moon, and we know every lay person also knows that moon is related with the cycles or the rhythms of nature. So forth, all the planets have been correlated very specifically, and also in Jyotish, when they tell that this planet becomes weak, what are the symptoms, what are the problems that occurs, that exactly correlates with lesions in those particular organs in the brain. And to the point of our interest today is putamen. You can see putamen is actually correlated with Lord Shani or the Shani or Saturn planet. Now, what does that mean to us? We'll see. So based on the discovery of human physiology to be an expression of Veda and Vedic literature, I was blessed to work on this discovery of correlation between sacred pilgrim sites of the world and the neurological centers in human nervous system. This is a discovery that logically flowed the timeless discovery of Professor Dr. Tony Nader. And what this means is that the neuroscientists, what they have correlated the physiology with Vedas, now we are able to correlate the physiology with geography of the world. Importantly, what has happened is, I want to be specific here and focus on the southern India, which has been correlated with the lower half of the brain, or we can say it's the brain stem. The brain stem and the southern portion of India has been correlated specifically, and this you can see in this graphic. The double outline is that of the map of Bharat, India, and the single outline is that of the brain, that is the sagittal section of the brain. Now you can see a rough correlation of the outline of both these structures. Now what is important is this correlation or the relationship between brain and Vedas has been known through Rig Veda since time immemorial. So no doubt India was considered a divine land, land of the Vedas, and so this now physiologically we could correlate, and this happened quite accidentally because the discovery by Professor Tony Nader brought out the reality of physiology and Vedas, and then this followed quite miraculously and providentially. So Lord Ayyappa, the common facts which everyone knows, can be explained neuroscientifically. Primarily, we know Ayyappa is seen to be conquering the tiger and bringing the milk as per the request of his mother. Now, we saw in few slides before how Lord Ganapati has been correlated with the brain stem. Now, we know Ganapati located in the brain stem has been correlated with major temples in the area of Maharashtra, and we know the fervor of celebrations of Ganapati there. Not going into the details of that, we see that Ayyappa is associated with tiger. Now, how this can be explained physiologically? And also we know that there is 18 steps in Shabarimala before you can have the darshan, the most sacred, pious 18 steps. Why? Only in Shabarimala we have the 18 steps. We don't have such 18 steps anywhere else or for any other deity. That also will be explained. And towards this, we will just see the mythology and the traditional practice. We see the sacred 18 steps. We have to understand that the brain, we know the lower part continues as spinal cord, and the lower part in India, we can say the most what you can say a major deity confined or located to the lower portion, southern portion is Lord Shabarimala, and below that we can assume the brain transcends or transforms and continues to as the spinal cord. Now, in the spinal cord, in the picture, in the insert you can see the Puran has been linked to the certain nervous system interconnections layers called the layers of Rexed. These are in the spinal cord, and the neuroscientists have mapped 18 of them. 18, exactly 18 layers of Rexed are there, and the amazing correlation is the temple which is just next to the spinal cord, that is from the spinal cord level as we ascend to the base of the brain or the brain stem, that transcending point, that is where you have Lord Ayyappa and Shabarimala. So, what happens is you are having logically the 18 steps only in Lord Shabarimala, only in Shabarimala with in front of Lord Ayyappa. So, this highly is significant because we understand that mythology is not just hearsay or some vague stories. They are highly coded scientific realities, and these have been kept for the human welfare and the welfare of the cosmos. We also, when we further understand the geography of the area of the holy area, the sacred space of Shabarimala, we understand that there are 18 hills. This is again amazing because we know that in Tirupati there are 7 hills. Like that, many places have certain numbers, but nowhere we see that all this corroborate. 18 hills could be, we need to do further research as we have given in the second slide. This research is ongoing and it is being shared here so that it will help everyone to arrive at a proper decision and not trespass nature's great and sacred rules. So, these are the 18 hills, and this could be associated with the 18 layers of Rexed in the spinal cord. And now we will come to the specific point of Shabarimala. What could be in the physiology, and what is actually the correlate of Lord Ayyappa and Shabarimala in our human physiology. So, this discovery of correlation between Shabarimala and nucleus gracilis and nucleus cuneatus. Now, a small note I want to give. Most of us will remember, the doctors and also the lay people who have studied anatomy, is that we have the anterior front portion in the human body and a posterior or the dorsal portion or the back portion. Now, all the descending motor tracts come anteriorly, that is in the front, you can see, and all the ascending fibers, they come posteriorly, that is in the back. The wiring is this way, whatever information has to go to the brain comes back to the brain in the back, and whatever goes to control our muscles and other functions goes anteriorly. So, here we find that the posterior tracts, we call the dorsal columns, carry information to the higher structures in the brain, and they are called as tracts. Now, they end in cuneatus. So, there is a sort of a gap, synapse, that holy spot could be Shabarimala, and that is why this is associated with putamen also. We will see that all the ascending fibers, like you see, this is a more close-up view of the nuclei in the lower portion of the brainstem, and we see that most of the fibers now go posteriorly and some also go anteriorly, but as you see, the fibers go from the dorsal column to the striatum, or actually in the basal ganglia they reach the striatum, that is caudate nucleus and putamen, and we know that putamen has been related with Shani or Saturn. So, you can see that all the Shani temples, the major Shani temples are situated in the western areas of India, that is comparable to posterior part of the brain, though few fibers go anteriorly, which can be correlated with Tirunallar and other temples in Andhra Pradesh, but mainly it is in the posterior side or in the western. And small note about that Vahan, Lord Ayyappa's Vahan, the tiger analogy found in the physiology of medulla. Now, compared to the Ganapati, which was clearly visible, or you can appreciate that structure in the base of the brain, here you can see we have taken cut section at 3 levels: midbrain, pons, medulla. It is very clear that some correlation, though not exactly, can be found in this area, that is in the medulla, lower medulla. You could see that this looks like a caricature of tiger, and remember, this is only tracts, and it is a cut section, and when we see a real section, stained section, the resemblance is really very close to that of tiger. So, you can see again in this, you can see that there is a face of tiger which you can compare with the Vahan of Lord Ayyappa. This is again more graphic representation, and here comes the exact analogy. So, mythology, they have expressed some things in the closest likelihood, and on further exploration, as we did in Lord Ganapati, the further intricate correlations are possible, and we are awaiting the time for that. And then about an explanation for why women, particularly in the reproductive years, are not allowed, could be explained what you can say scientifically, and we can understand that it was not discrimination, it was only a rule that could preserve the sanctity of the place of the cosmic physiology and the human physiology. Now, what we see is this is the normal hormonal changes and women's lifespan, and we know there are many phases, and in Shabarimala alone in the whole world, this one temple alone says that the women of reproductive age group, that is only after menarche and after menopause, that is before menarche they can come and after menopause they can again come, in between period they are not allowed. Why? Because clearly these are associated with hormonal changes, and we know that through the field of epigenetics, the genes are influenced by the surrounding environment, and now we saw that the specific areas in the what do you say in the geography of India are correlated with certain cosmic structures, and these areas could vibrate with the frequencies of those cosmic bodies more. And so if women who are very much responsive to the environment and whose hormones keep fluctuating, especially during the reproductive age group, they could have adverse effects if they visit the temple during the hormonally unstable period in their life. So this could be the only reason for Shabarimala's rules regarding entry of women in particular age group, and it is not discrimination, because we understand from the present perspective of social inequalities or the inadequacies of the present day men or the present day family setup. But in those days when the structure was holistic and when they were in a cohesive unit, there was no idea to discriminate somebody just based on gender. It could have been and it should have been only for self preservation of the health. Now, what we see is very clearly we see that the childhood phase and then after the menopause, the estrogen level just is less when compared to the reproductively active years in women. So what happens is we see a clear hormonal difference between the two groups of women who are allowed. So this is again a very scientific, and this estrogen has been found to impact the putamen. This is amazing study. The estrogen hormones can affect the neurotransmitters in the putamen. Sex hormones affect neurotransmitters and shape the adult female brain during hormonal transition periods. I mean, these are all highly scientific articles, but it all needs to be cohesively looked at and understood from the perspective of a holistic society that strives for everyone's excellence, and menstruation and the female brain, how fluctuating hormone levels impact cognitive functions, and so on and so forth. What we want to summarize here is that the mythological stories or mythological explanations could be highly coded language for a deeper scientific, neuroscientific reality that was not possible to be explained in the way that it could be explained today. So those mythological stories or which has been transmitted as culture or tradition should be viewed very scientifically and understood as for the welfare of the society and the individuals. And we want everyone to come together and look at the facts available before us and decide on how best we can promote the society along positive ways, so that all of us, the ecology, the individual and the society, prosper very happily and live in peace. Towards it, lot of researches have taken place in the development of consciousness, and development of consciousness alone can bring forth a broader understanding and peaceful coexistence of all the people concerned. So, we have more of this research in the Global Union of Scientists for Peace, that is www.gusp.org, and also www.tm.org, and also www.ufaworld.org, ufaworld.org, where the detailed presentation of the correlation of Bharat to be the land of Vedas and how they have associated with the human brain is detailedly available, and wishing all enlightenment and peace. Thank you.